Feel free to be whoever you want to be. Feel free to dance, feel free to sing, just feel free. Feels like the world is picking on ya. Feels like it's picking on me. But trying to please.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Two Tone Talk Podcast, episode 25. It is only a week and a half away from the NFL Draft 2023. And I'm going to be honest with you. I said it last night on my Twitter, at Two Tone Talk Podcast. Please go follow me over on Twitter. Go subscribe on YouTube as well. Make sure you do that. Subscribe to Two Tone Talk on YouTube. I said last night on Twitter, we are a week and a half away from the NFL Draft 2023, and I have no clue what the Tennessee Titans are going to do. I am kind of excited about seeing what the Titans are going to do. I am kind of terrified to see what the Tennessee Titans are going to do in the draft this year. They currently have pick 11. Will it stay that way? I don't know. A lot of talk about the quarterbacks. The Titans have shown a lot of interest in a lot of quarterbacks. But we know there's other needs. There are many other needs at play here, and we'll just have to see. But we're here to talk about that today. We're going to talk about the draft. We're going to talk about what the Titans could do, what they should do, what they should not do. We're going to talk about that today. We're also going to talk about the question of who's going to be starting quarterback for this team. If they don't go quarterback in the draft, who's starting quarterback? If they draft a quarterback who ain't going to be ready this season, who's the starting quarterback? Who the heck's going to play wide receiver? God help us. And last but not least, I'm going to end the show by doing a fun little thing. I'm going to rank my personal top 10 favorite Tennessee Titans games ever. And I want you to let me know in the comments your personal favorite Tennessee Titans game. That'll be how we end the show. But for right now, let's talk about the draft. As I sit here right now, it is April 17th. And the draft is upon us. 10 days away. 10 days away. Next Thursday, the NFL Draft begins. The Panthers, they're at pick number 1. And I love how ESPN is just going back and forth on who the top quarterback is. When it all started, it was all about Bryce Young from Alabama. It was all about Bryce. Bryce is clearly going number 1. And then out of nowhere, it became, oh, wait a minute, no, C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is the guy that people are most excited about. He's going number 1. And then everybody got obsessed with Anthony Richardson. And then there was talk about, man, Anthony Richardson might be the one people are most excited about. And now we're back to Bryce Young again. We're back to Bryce Young. And I personally believe at the end of the day, I feel like Carolina is going to take Bryce Young at 1. B Ravens 1 in the YouTube chat said it, and I agree. I think Anthony Richardson at pick number 1, that is just too risky to me. Too risky. Maybe pick 3 or 4, you can do it. But first overall pick and you're going to take Anthony Richardson, I think that's just too risky. And, you know, people, for whatever reason, appear to have soured on C.J. Stroud. out of Ohio State. I have no idea why. But Bryce Young, I think Bryce Young is who Carolina's going to take. But we got to talk about pick 2. We know Carolina, they're taking a quarterback. They traded with Chicago. They got up there. Carolina's taking a quarterback. They need one. They need a franchise guy. They ain't had one, since Cam. They need a franchise quarterback. We know Carolina, they're taking a quarterback at number 1. You can debate who it's going to be, but Carolina's going quarterback. But we got to talk about these, our old friends, the Houston Texans, at pick number 2. Because the rumor mill is swirling about Houston that they actually might not take a quarterback with the number 2 pick. There are even talks today that Houston might even be entertaining the idea of trading with someone for that pick. Now, they're not going to trade with the Titans. They'd be stupid to trade with somebody in their own division. So I don't think they're going to do that. But there is talk that Houston might take somebody like a Will Anderson with their pick at number 2. Because remember, Houston also has a pick at 12. Now, obviously, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and probably Will Levis, they're not going to last that long. So if you're wanting to take one of those 4 guys, you ain't going to get them at 12. But you could maybe get a guy like Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee at 12. I don't know, because people are starting to get a little more excited about Hendon Hooker over these last couple of weeks, and rightfully so. I think people treated Hendon Hooker like he was a 2nd or 3rd round guy, and I disagree with that because he was balling before he got hurt. He was the Heisman frontrunner before he got hurt. Now, I know he's coming off of a major injury, and if you're concerned about that, rightfully so, yes. But to just treat him as though he's just an afterthought compared to these other guys, I think that's a mistake. I think he deserves a little more respect than that. So maybe, there are rumors that Houston's just not excited about any quarterback in this draft outside of Bryce Young. And if Carolina takes Bryce Young at 1 and he's not there, Houston may just live to fight another day. I personally, I can't imagine Houston being in that position and not going quarterback. I can't imagine. Who else do they have? Davis Mills? Davis Mills or, I don't remember who the other guy, then they bring somebody in this offseason. I can't fathom. I know the rumors are out there. I know everybody's talking about Houston doing something other than taking a quarterback at number 2, whether that be trading back or taking another position. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine them being that dumb, And then we get to the interesting stuff. Pick 3, the Arizona Cardinals. They've got Kyler Murray. They don't need a quarterback. So Arizona, likely that they'd be willing to trade back, and that's where Tennessee kind of factors in. Arizona listening to people that want to trade up to 3, and a lot of people insinuating that the Titans may be that team to jump up from 11 to 3. What would Arizona want in return? Who knows? Obviously, they're not getting Big Jeff because Big Jeff Simmons, since I did my last episode, Big Jeff got paid. He's in two-tone blue for the foreseeable future. Fine with that. Great news there. But, you can still make that argument for Derrick Henry. I don't think the Titans want to get rid of Derrick Henry. I don't think that is something that is in their plans at all. So I don't think that's going to happen. So I don't know what Arizona would want. If you're trading up to 3, I'm still not crazy. Like, let's say Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud are both gone. Let's say Carolina takes Bryce, Houston takes Stroud, and those 2 are off the board. I'm still not crazy about trading up to get Anthony Richardson. I'm not crazy about it at all. I could be talked into it. Listen, I could be talked into it. And ultimately, whoever they take, I'm going to be rooting for him. But let's say the Titans are there at 3, they take Anthony Richardson. I'm not jumping up and down about it. I'm very nervous. I'm very skeptical about that. But, you know, I could be talked into it, but I'm very skeptical. And then as far as Will Levis, I cannot be talked into that. I cannot be talked into the idea of trading up to 3 to get Will Levis. I would rather hang back and try to get a guy like Hendon Hooker. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I would rather just hang back, try and get Hendon Hooker than to go up there and take Will Levis. You can argue with me about Richardson. I will not hear arguments about Levis. I do not want Will Levis in Nashville. And you know what else? What makes me feel confident about that? You know who's picking at number 4? Our old friends, the Indianapolis Colts, who apparently have said they love Will Levis. They want Will Levis, and they are assuming that Levis is still going to be there at 4, and they're probably going to take him. That's what they said. They love Will Levis. And you know what? I want the Colts to draft Will Levis. I'm that confident that he's just not that guy. I'm that confident that Will Levis is not that dude that I want the Colts to draft him. I want him far away from Nashville, and I would rather him go to the rival. That's how confident I am that Will Levis is not that guy. I can be talked into Anthony Richardson. I cannot be talked in to Will Levis. I do not want Will Levis. Now, if for whatever reason Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud is still available at number 3, Rand Carthon for Tennessee's got to pick up the phone and get up there. If we could, if Houston loses their minds and decides to take Will Anderson at number 2, if they decide to take, and there are some people out there are some analysts and stuff who are convinced that Houston is going to take somebody other than a quarterback at number 2. I can't believe that personally, but there are some analysts out there who are like, hey, I would not be shocked at all if Houston goes somewhere other than quarterback at number 2. So if Carolina takes Bryce and Houston takes somebody other than a quarterback and C.J. Stroud is still there for pick number 3, I absolutely want to trade up and take C.J. Stroud 100%. If Carolina takes Stroud, and then Houston, for whatever reason, takes somebody other quarterback, and Bryce Young is still there, I absolutely want to trade up to take Bryce Young. Now, like B. Ravens once said in the chat, there is a chance that Arizona might want to take Will Anderson. Arizona may, at the end of the day, say, hey, we're going to stay up here at number 3. We're going to take Will Anderson, and we ain't listed. Because, again, they may ask too much, more than Tennessee or anybody else would be willing to give them. And if so, okay, let's say you're staying back at number 11. Titans are at 11. They're not taking any of those quarterbacks. Bryce, Stroud, Richardson, Levis. They're not taking any of them. What do you do at 11? Do you even entertain the idea, if Hendon Hooker is there, do you even entertain that? I know people say number 11 is way too high for Hendon Hooker because he is people said he's kind of a late first, early second guy. Fair. It's just by the time I feel like by the time the Titans pick again, Hendon Hooker is not going to be there. So if you're going to get him, you have to take him at 11. I mean, again, I could be talked into that much faster than I could be talked into Will Levis. But the thing is, of guys in this draft that could be ready to come in and play immediately, I'm looking at Bryce and Stroud. Those are the only 2 guys that I can look at and be like, and maybe not even them, but I look at those 2 guys and be like, okay, those 2 guys could probably be your QB1 in the fall. I don't know how good they'll be, but they could probably be your QB1 in the fall. Or similar to what happened with Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh last year, where it's like, they set for the first month and then they're in. The thing is, for Tennessee, if it's not a quarterback that you draft, what then? You know what I'm saying? Like, what then? because at the quarterback position, I mean, because I still think it's time to move on from Ryan Tannehill. God bless the guy. He can still help somebody win somewhere. But, I mean, as far as Tennessee, the money that he wants, I don't know who in the world's going to want him in a trade. But, I mean, we might be looking at Tannehill again. I definitely don't think we're looking at Malik Willis. I think that ship has already sailed. I don't get the vibe that the Titans have any high hopes that Malik Willis is ever going to be their guy. And I'm kind of right there with them, unfortunately. So that leaves Tannehill or the conversation surrounding Trey Lance is still there. Rand Carthon, big 49ers guy. There have been rumors that the 49ers are interested in hearing for trades for Trey Lance. The thing is, the 49ers are not, first of all, they don't need Tannehill. So it's not like you can make Tannehill a part of the trade. Like, hey, we'll give you this pick and we'll give you Tannehill, because the 49ers don't need Ryan Tannehill. So that getting Trey Lance still doesn't solve the Tannehill problem. And also, Trey Lance is something I could be more excited about Trey Lance than I would be definitely about Will Levis. I think I might even be more excited about Trey Lance than I even would be about Anthony Richardson, to tell you the truth, because at least Trey Lance could come in and immediately start. Now, Trey Lance has been hurt. We haven't seen a whole lot of him, so I don't really know, what we're dealing with there, but, I think that there is something there to say that it is still a possibility that the Titans could acquire Trey Lance in a trade, because of Rand Carthon, and obviously he has targeted players that he helped bring in, of which Trey Lance would fit that, mold. I just don't know what you do about Tannehill. I don't know. I don't know. Do you just cut him? Do you trade him? I don't know. But I think the fan base would be less than enthused if you come back out with Ryan Tannehill, especially after an offseason where you have had all of these speculation about a young quarterback, drafting a quarterback. You've had all of this speculation about going another direction. Probably the most speculation that we've seen at the quarterback position for Tennessee in years and years. And it's like, okay, so after all of that, we're just going to stick with Tannehill. I just don't think it's the right move. We'll see what they do. But I just, if for whatever reason Bryce Young or CJ Stroud is still available at pick number 3, we need to try to jump up there and get them. And I would be thrilled with that. As I said, I'm very skeptical about Richardson. I do not want Levis at all. And I could absolutely get excited about Hendon Hooker depending on when he's drafted. If you try to get him somewhere late first, early second, yeah. At pick 11, that seems a little too high. Now, other than quarterback, the next position that you look at is wide receiver. I mean, the Titans, as it stands right now, have one of the worst wide receiving groups in the NFL. Okay, like bottom 3 for sure. You can make an argument bottom 2. You can make an argument for bottom 1. Honestly, it is a putrid group of receivers. And now I don't really know. I mean, as far as a veteran presence to bring in, I don't really know who is that. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins, you can still hold out hope for that, but I mean, he's made it clear he wants to go somewhere like a Kansas City or a Buffalo, because of course he does. Those are like 2 of the best teams in the league, and I'm sure he would love to try to contend for a ring. So I do not think that DeAndre Hopkins wants to come play for the Titans, and I'm too skeptical about him. It seems too similar to Julio, to Randy Moss when he came to the Titans, Andre Johnson when he came to the Titans, Eric Decker when he came to the Titans. I mean, it just screams guy who's past his prime, who's going to be hurt all the time, and is not going to be worth the money. Similar to what Bud Dupree was on defense, and now Bud Dupree is with the Atlanta Falcons for pretty much next to nothing. So that tells you all you need to know there. So, Yeah, as far as wide receiver, I like the Smith and Jigba um, from Ohio State. I like him. He's the guy that I am most excited about. The thing about this wide receiving class, there is talent, but there's not a lot of size. Which in the NFL now, the wide receivers are huge. They're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, a guy like, if only we had a guy like that. Oh, we did. John Robinson, thank you for your services. He's now in Philadelphia. A.J. Brown, who I'm referring to, of course. DK Metcalf's one of those guys. I mean, you just have these receivers with size. And, with the exception of Tyreek Hill, who is just all speed, and guys like that. But, I mean, a lot of the receivers now, I mean, they're big guys. And so it's you look at this class, there's not a lot of size. But there's some talent. The guy from TCU, there's the guy I can't remember all their names, but there's a lot of receivers. If they don't get a quarterback, if they can't trade up and get the quarterback they want, my opinion, you've gotta go wide receiver. If you're staying at pick 11, you gotta go wide receiver. You have to go wide receiver. I mean, this is pathetic. This room you have of wide receivers right now, there's really nobody in free agency that is exciting at all about going out and getting. I mean, and I still think the only problem with drafting somebody, you still need a veteran presence in that wide receiver room, of which they have none right now. So I don't know. I just don't know. There's a lot that needs to be sorted out. Originally, it was a no-brainer that the Titans would go offensive line at pick 11, but now, I mean, listen, I am not saying the offensive line is looking good by any stretch of the imagination, but it's competent enough at this point. It still needs help, but it's competent enough right now that I don't think you need to go offensive line with pick 11. I just don't think. I think you need to go wide receiver. If you're staying at 11 and you're not getting a quarterback, you need to go wide receiver. I don't know what that means for the quarterback position. I have no clue. There are some people who are holding out hope for the Lamar Jackson thing. Listen, Lamar's staying in Baltimore. I'm telling you, it's not a fit, but Lamar Jackson's staying in Baltimore. I feel like that ship has sailed, not just for Tennessee, but for everybody. Wide receiver, I'm very concerned, and I think you can get a good offensive lineman still in the second round or something that can come in and contribute. I don't think you have to pick offensive line at 11. There is some bozo at ESPN who is insinuating the Titans want to take an edge rusher at 11. If that happens, I am going to lose my mind. We do not need to be thinking defense with this first round pick. We have to. I mean, with the wide receiver room we've got, with the offensive line we've got, with the quarterback situation we've got, no. We got to go offense at pick 11. And in particular, we've got to go either wide receiver or quarterback or offensive line. I mean, there's no way that the Titans can go edge rush or any other defensive position with that first pick, with their first round pick. It's like I said, the draft is 10 days away. I have no idea what to expect. I'm excited, but I'm nervous, especially after last year. I mean, the draft last year was a tough night as a fan with the A.J. Brown trade. That was tough, especially with the way the Titans season had ended with Cincinnati in that playoff game, the most heartbreaking loss I've ever experienced as a fan. And then to follow it up months later with that atrocity in the first round of the draft, it was just a nightmare, a total nightmare. And so I'm very nervous going into the draft this year. I'm expecting the worst, to be honest with you. And my dog is too. Made me jump a little bit. Man, he's expecting the worst too. I'm expecting like we've traded Derrick Henry, or we've signed Ryan Tannehill to a 5-year deal, like something ridiculous like that, is what I go in expecting after that crap with AJ last year. I just think that, it's an exciting time because you truly don't know what they're going to do. but it's terrifying as well. So a couple of weeks ago, I was going to do this deal where I was going to do my personal top 10 favorite Tennessee Titans games in history. And I ended up not doing it for a very sad reason, because the shooting in Nashville took place right in the middle of while I was recording at the school there, and it just felt like I just was not cool to continue recording. I was like, man, who cares about my top 10 favorite games when all this is going on? And who cares today? But I'm going to do it anyway. But these are my personal top 10. Listen, you're not going to agree. Some of these just are my top 10 favorites for personal reasons. Some of them are my top 10 favorites, for other reasons. You're going to see some of these and be like, this is the most random game ever to pick. Some of them are very predictable. But these are my top 10 Tennessee Titans games in history. At number 10, this is one that would be in most people's. It is the Titans hosting the Arizona Cardinals in 2009. This is the 100-yard drive game by Vince Young to win. Titans were losing, and they took the ball at their own 1, and just a masterful drive by Vince Young. How the Arizona Cardinals defense allowed this to happen, I'll never know. But a 100-yard drive, and then on the last play of the game, a touchdown pass from Vince Young to Kenny Britt. There's a name you hadn't heard in a while. Vince Young to Kenny Britt. Shoot, Vince Young's probably a name you hadn't heard in a while. Vince Young to Kenny Britt on the last play of the game for a walk-off touchdown to beat the Cardinals. 100-yard drive. Something that you never thought would happen, and boy, we had high hopes for Vince Young once again, thinking that he could be our next guy. He wasn't, but he did provide. Vince provided some awesome moments when he was Titans quarterback. Very exciting times, exciting games, exciting, he was clutch. He made some clutch plays for Tennessee late in games, but just wasn't consistent enough. Obviously, Jeff Fisher was never on board the Vince Young train. But on this night, it was all about Vince Young and the 100-yard drive to win the game. On the last play, that comes in at number 10. Some people would have that one higher on the list than me, but I have it at 10 just because the Titans sucked at this time. And so it's hard for me to look back on any games from that period and be like, that was awesome, because the Titans were, really not good for a lot of those years. Number 9, now this was a year where they were good. This is the Titans versus the Colts in 2008 on Monday Night Football. This was the year that the Titans went 13-3. They were the number 1 seed in the AFC. They were eliminated in the playoffs by the Ravens with rookie quarterback Joe Flacco. A very similar meltdown to what they had against the Bengals last year. But this was the game that year where they beat the Colts on Monday Night Football in Nashville, where it really felt like the Titans were for real. This game was really like, oh, okay, so I think they started 10-0, and this was one of those 10-0s. Peyton Manning with the Colts had tortured the Titans for many years, and this was kind of the Titans saying, hey, it ain't going to happen this year. Ain't going to happen this year. They took care of the Colts convincingly at home in prime time, and it was like, it was a moment where you felt like this is the special team. Like, they would clobbered Peyton Manning at home. But, of course, they ended up laying an egg in the playoffs. But for that night, it felt good. Number 8, it's the Colts again. In 2006, the Titans didn't make the playoffs this year, but it was a very exciting season because they started 0-6 or something. And then they put Vince in, who was a rookie, Vince Young, and he just started bringing in the victories over and over and over and over. And one of them was over the Colts at home on a 60-yard field goal by the late, great Rob Baronis. Hit the 60-yard field goal on the last play of the game. And or it wasn't the last play of the game, but it was pretty much the end of the game. He had a 60-yard field goal to give the Titans the win over the Colts. And the Titans actually found themselves in the playoff hunt at the end of this season after starting 0-6. They didn't make the playoffs, but this was a very exciting season. Some good memories, and this was one of them. Number 7 was just last season when the Titans beat the Rams on Sunday Night Football in LA. I loved this game because this was the game after Derrick Henry had suffered his injury, and he was announced as being done for the year. Everybody just decided the Titans are done. They have nobody outside of Derrick Henry. They probably won't even make the playoffs. They're an afterthought. They're finished. And the Titans fans were like in mourning and felt like the season was over. And then the Titans went to L.A. against the eventual Super Bowl champions and just wiped the floor with them. I mean, Byard had the pick six. First of all, to talk about Kevin Byard, about like all the stuff about him not taking a pay cut, he wanted out of Nashville, that talk died down pretty quick, yeah. But this game was so much fun. I was on vacation in the mountains watching this game. It was like what we needed as Titans fans that night. It had been a tough week with Derrick Henry being out for the year. And then they came in and wiped the floor with LA in LA. Defense put on an unbelievable performance led by Kevin Byard and Jeffrey Simmons. That was a great night. That was number 7. Number 6 on my list of my top 10 favorite Titans games. This is going back a ways to, I believe, 2003, when the Titans beat the Houston Texans. Steve McNair to Drew Bennett for the game-winning touchdown. Drew told the fans to shh. Drew Bennett, one of the most underrated Titans of all time. This game clinched a playoff berth for Tennessee. I believe, if I remember correctly, if they had lost this game, like, their playoff hopes would have been in doubt. If they would have won, they clinched playoff berth. They won. They clinched playoff berth. Unbelievable pass by McNair to Bennett on 4th and 10 for the touchdown. Tremendous game. What a great memory as a kid watching this. The Titans beat the Texans. End up going on to the playoffs, I believe, to beat the Ravens in the wild card round and then get put out by Tom Brady and the Patriots in the divisional round in one of the coldest games ever. But this game, iconic Steve McNair moment that I'm sure we all remember well if you've been a Titans fan for any period of time. We are to the top 5 now. This one might feel a little random for everyone, but Titans-Bills from the 2021-2022 season. This was where Big Jeff got the stop on 4th and inches on the quarterback sneak. Josh Allen did not slip and fall. He slipped and fell because he got hit by Jeffrey Simmons, is what I'm trying to say. This game ranks in my top 5 because I was at this game. So it's kind of personal reasons I was at this game. This was the best game I've ever witnessed live. This game was incredible. Derrick Henry went nuts in this game. A.J. Brown had a big night. Jeffrey Simmons got the big stop. Like, walking to my car after this game was just the most incredible thing. There were a lot of Bills fans who were drunk, who were very angry at the loss, and Titans fans were just leaving that arena or that stadium so happy. Oh, it was one of the... And I remember, there's little things like this that you remember. I remember after this game, I went to Taco Bell because I hadn't eaten in a while. I went to Taco Bell. I sat in the parking lot, ate my Taco Bell, and watched the highlights of the game on YouTube. One of my favorite things that I've attended, man. That game was unbelievable and a great memory, great game, dramatic finish. Number 4, how about Marcus Mariota leading the Titans to their first playoff win in a decade over the Chiefs? This one felt surreal. I couldn't believe what I was watching. Titans down 21-3 at the half. Felt like the Titans didn't even belong there. It was like, okay, this thing's over. Titans come out in the second half and end up, the Chiefs didn't score another point. Titans won at 22-21. Mariota threw a touchdown pass to himself. Derrick Henry era begins. Mariota threw... Eric Decker never did anything as a touchdown, but by God, he caught a touchdown in this game to put the Titans ahead. And the Chiefs totally collapsed. I have no idea how the Chiefs... This is, of course, the pre-Mahomes era. I think this may have been Alex Smith's last game as the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs. What a meltdown it was for them. But, I mean, as a Titans fan watching this, who hadn't watched them win a playoff game in a decade, this was, like, unbelievable. This was, you couldn't even believe. I watched the highlights of this game so many times. I couldn't even believe that I saw it. Titans went on to lose to Brady and the Patriots the next week, but it didn't even matter. The fact that they made it to the playoffs, went on the road, and beat the Chiefs, it was like, dude, okay, for this year, that's good enough for me. We ain't been in the playoffs in a decade. We made the playoffs, came from down 21-3, and beat this team on the road. That was unbelievable. And I was convinced after this game that Marcus Mariota was going to be that dude. And he just wasn't. But you know what? For that night, he was. Number 3, how about the end of the Brady era in New England? Brady's last game with the Patriots. They lose to the Tennessee Titans at home in the playoffs. This was just unbelievable to watch. To watch Logan Ryan get that interception on Brady at the end of the game to put it away. Derrick Henry was a madman that night. Tannehill had taken the reins. This was like probably Tannehill's peak. He was good the next year too, but this was like unbelievable to watch the Titans on the road in Foxborough, ending the dynasty. What? That's going to be in the history books. That'll be a trivia question. Who was the team who beat Tom Brady in his last game as a New England Patriot? The Tennessee, by God, Titans, baby. Can't change it. That's history. And, man, it was just amazing that night to watch that. And what an incredible moment that was. Number 2, I'm going back for this one. For the old Music City Mulligan. Titans, Steelers in the divisional round of the playoffs in, I believe it was the 2002 season, but it was technically this game happened in 2003. Titans and Steelers, this is one of the best games I've ever seen. Forget Titans, ever. That people don't talk about this game enough, man. This was playoff football, back and forth. Steelers, Titans, physical. Ends up tied at 31. McNair takes the Titans down there at the end of the fourth quarter. Nedney, who was the kicker for the Titans at the time, Joe Nedney, missed a field goal that would have won the game. So we got to go to overtime. Steve McNair, you guys go back and watch Steve McNair, who was playing hurt, because of course he was, throws a pass to a guy named Justin McCarrons. I remember this like it was yesterday. McCarrons breaks tackle, runs down the sideline. Now they're on the Pittsburgh side of the field. But the next play was Steve McNair doing Steve McNair things. Dude rolls out to his right. Got Steelers all over him. You think he's just going to throw it away. Dude sidearms a pass down the sideline to Justin McCarrons again. Phenomenal play. That's why Steve McNair, he is underrated, man. This guy, his toughness, his ability to extend plays, make throws on the run, unbelievable. So then Nedney comes out. He makes a field goal, but Bill Cowher, the Steelers coach, called a timeout just before. This was before that was really a popular thing to do, to call the timeout at the last second. Cowher calls timeout. The fireworks dude starts shooting off fireworks for a field goal that didn't count. So then Nedney has to kick it again. He misses it, but somebody runs into him. They run into the kicker. They barely touch him, but Nedney spins down, puts on an Oscar-winning performance. They throw the flag. The announcer's going nuts. Nedney got roughed. So then they got to put Nedney back up there. He's made one. He's missed one. The first one didn't count because of a timeout. The second one didn't count because of a penalty, and thank God because he missed it. So then they put Nedney out there again. If I'm Jeff Fisher, I would have sent the offense back out there because Nedney now missed 2 field goals, would have won the game. Nedney makes the third one. This one counts. Although Bill Cowher was trying to call timeout again, the referee didn't see it. So Nedney makes the field goal. Bill Cowher's furious. He runs out on the field, gets in the ref's face, and is like, "You cost us the game." They have to drag Bill Cowher off the field. He's so mad at the ref. This is like some WWE style stuff. This is like something that was booked. This was chaos. This was playoff football drama. Oh my gosh. Everybody should go back and watch this game. I had a hard time not putting it number 1. But at number 1, we got to go with the divisional round against Lamar Jackson. I'm sorry, B Ravens won in the chat. This, to me, my favorite Titans game of all time because nobody gave the Titans a chance to win this game. They were the lowest seed. The Ravens coming off of a bye. They were the 1 seed. The Ravens had barely lost any games. Everybody just knew, it's going to be Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes in the AFC title game. Oh, we can't wait. It's going to be so great. And the Titans came to town and wiped the floor with the Baltimore Ravens in that divisional round. Oh my gosh. I mean, I wasn't expecting it. I was like, dude, we're going to get killed. We ended the Brady dynasty. We're going to get killed in this divisional round. And man, Derrick Henry went in there, went off. Defense played lights out. Lamar Jackson had 1 billion yards, but he just kept turning the ball over. And their Titans ended up going to the AFC title game, where they actually, they led the Chiefs in that AFC title game by 10 on 2 separate occasions in that game. But Mahomes did Mahomes things. But that's my top 10 Titans games ever. Stanley Wilson on the chat says that throw on the shock play to Khalif Raymond was the end of that game. You know my favorite part of that? So I think it was the Titans had just gotten a 4th down stop, and it was the first play after they got stopped. Tannehill fakes it, throws the bomb to Khalif Raymond from Holy Cross University, who now plays for Detroit, right? He throws the deep ball to Khalif Raymond, and I loved Ian Eagle, who was calling the game for CBS, almost laughed as he said it. He literally, you can go back and listen, he goes, Khalif Raymond. He's who the heck is Khalif Raymond? This guy from Holy Cross catches a touchdown, and that was when, as a Titans fan, I was watching the game, and I was like, oh. And then, we got I think it was, we were up by 1, Henry with the stiff-armed Earl Thomas. After Earl Thomas had been he ain't gonna come in here and do that to us. Henry just made him his lead blocker. And then, a 5'9" speedster. Yeah, Stanley in the chat. But also, I think the Titans in the second half, they were up by 1 possession. Henry busted off that long run, and then I think they did the Wildcat. Henry Tebow pass to Corey Davis. So the Titans were up by 2 possessions. It was man, okay, we're getting late in the third, up by 2 possessions here. Then we got a turnover. We sacked Jackson. He fumbled. Then we scored again. Tannehill on an option or something. It was dude, we're up by 3 possessions in the 4th quarter. What's going on? That was when it started to get surreal. Oh my gosh, am I dreaming right now? CJC in the YouTube chat says 2019 was so close to seeing my dream Super Bowl matchup, Titans versus 49ers. Yeah, man. The AFC title game when the Titans lost to the Chiefs that year, in a way, it was you know what? We should just be grateful that this 6th seed, which was the lowest seed at the time you could be in the AFC, we should just be glad that we even got to this point. There's a lot to be excited about, But it was so heartbreaking because the Titans were up by 10. You're in the AFC title game. And Mahomes busted off that run at the end of the first half down the sideline, which was just some bad effort by the Titans, some of their defenders on that play. And, I think at halftime of that game, I think the Chiefs were up by 4 or something. I think it was 21-17 at half, and it just felt like the game was over. Even though they were only up by 4, it was man, we may as well be down by 40, B Ravens 1 says the Ravens did get their revenge a year later in the playoffs. Yeah, they did. They did. In the Titan Stadium. Man, that's a playoff performance by Ryan Tannehill that really gets swept under the rug because he was so bad against the Bengals the next year. But go think about how bad he was against the Ravens in that playoff game at home against the Ravens. he was bad in that game. And you know who else was bad? Derrick Henry was not great in that game either. He was not great against the Bengals either. I know he was coming off a big injury, but anyway, just reminiscing. The draft is 10 days away. And boy, oh boy, what's going to happen? I don't know. The Tennessee Titans Two-Tone Talk podcast. That'll do it for episode 25. Thank you guys that are listening, hanging out today. This is available on Spotify, SoundCloud, anywhere else you get your podcast. And go subscribe on YouTube to the Two-Tone Talk podcast. Go follow me on Twitter at Two-Tone Talk podcast. And the draft is coming. Hope all you guys have a good week. Tighten up. See you soon. Bye, everybody.
The ground, just let loose of what's got you down. Take your worries, stomp them in the ground. Said to stomp them in the ground. You need to stomp them in the ground. They always got something to say now. Yeah, never satisfied.